All right, we have a real, authentic Trumple, I think. This is an account with a lot of history. Oh, wait, the account started in January. But they're offering voice or video. I think it's a real person. I don't think it's a troll. Would somebody keep an account going for over 2 months to troll me? Over 500 likes, over 200 tweets, follows 134 people. No way, right? No, I don't think so. Whoa, hello?
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So, to get things started, you're a real, authentic, bona fide Trump supporter, I'm assuming, right?
I didn't vote for him, but I support him now, and I'm optimistic about his presidency. I'm definitely not a hater. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think initially, we had some disagreements over college-educated people voting predominantly Democrat.
Sure.
Do you want to start there? I don't know exactly what all you want to talk about. I don't normally get actual Trump supporters that want to talk to me. So,
Yeah, I think. Well, this whole thing started on that Twitter response, and I don't know how. I think you and I just fell into somebody's comments together, but it all started from. I think the gist of the conversation and what I kind of pushed back on was this idea that college educated means more intellectual and smarter. And I'm sure that if you tested college educated people versus non-college educated people on strictly IQ, that I'm sure educated people would have a higher IQ. But in the context of that conversation, in the context of politics in this country as a whole, I think that's kind of a disingenuous and kind of I don't know if elitist is the right word, but view take that just because somebody graduated with a degree from an American college means that they somehow know more or their opinions are more valid.
isn't that kind of the definition of getting a degree, though? Maybe not that their opinions are more valid, but that they might know a little more. I guess, like,
Well,
I'm wondering how far could you back this up? Like, let's say you had somebody that graduated public school, like grades 1 through 8. Would you say that that person in general probably knows more than somebody that didn't graduate grades 1 through 8?
sure.
Would you say that somebody that graduated high school and got a GED is more likely to know more than somebody that didn't go to high school at all?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about standardized tests. Absolutely.
Sure. So then wouldn't you say that somebody that goes to college for 4 years and gets a degree in general will probably know a bit more than somebody that didn't?
But see, I can't disagree with you on that because I went down that rabbit hole with you. But in the context of what that was talking about, I think people use that with what you just started off with, that college educated people are Democrats, right? So,
Well, I
yeah,
just said that predominantly they tend to vote Democrat because somebody was making the assertion that Democrats want to keep education real dumb so that people keep voting for them, which was a strange assertion to make because college educated people tend to vote Democrat over Republicans.
well, I think that person, I don't want to speak for that person, but was talking about public schools with the idea of public schools specifically in the inner cities, in cities that have been dominated by Democrat politics. Um, we don't see them getting any better. We see them getting worse. So I'm not speaking for that kid or saying I agree with him 100%, but I see what the point he was trying to make. Um,
Um, I guess. I guess. I mean, I don't know how relevant that is to the whether or not Democrats or college educated people vote Republican or Democrat.
but I mean, I guess that was funny to me too because this whole thing started, and then you and I and a couple other people jumped on how somebody said that my statement it's typical of somebody who didn't go to college, and I think they said that because they could tell that I was a Trump supporter,
Well,
and
I
that
think the problem was that you said that you claimed to have a master's in geology, you
yeah,
said?
yep.
So it's strange to me that somebody that's gone through that much education would make the claim that there's a decent chance that any random person with no college background is going to be about as intelligent as any random person with a college background, when that's probably a factually incorrect statement.
But and I'm sure if you take that average, but you can't say that somebody just because they went through and a lot of colleges in this country, and I did a little bit of reading about you. So let's use you for an example. You didn't finish college, correct?
Yeah.
But you seem very educated, well balanced. person who thinks through their ideas. How do you learn? How do you get your opinions? How do you learn about things?
When we're talking about things like this, we're talking about averages. Based on where I'm at in my life today, I would say that I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I would say that I am a far outlier. I don't think that the standard is drop out of college and make six figures streaming video games on the internet. I don't think that that's the norm.
But I think, okay, here's where I think we disagree. I think the idea now, especially in 2017, I finished undergrad in 2009 and then graduate school in 2011. And I'm sure now it's even worse so that this idea, because you've gone through this process, because you've paid the money and you showed up and you got passing grades on all your tests, that somehow that means you're smarter, hence your political opinion, especially in this context, is more valid or means more.
Well, so the problem is, again, we have to be careful because we're talking in averages. So I would never make the claim that going to college automatically makes you smarter, and I would never make the claim that not going to college makes you an idiot, right? But it's but none of this is a false dilemma, right? You can still have people that are really smart that never went to college, and you can have people that graduate from college who are really dumb, but you can also have, in general, people going to college are in generally smarter or more informed than people not going to college. I think that that's a pretty safe general statement to make.
Sure, but in the context of this political discussion, that's not how, even though I'm not saying you used it this way, but if you look at that Twitter feed that you and I were on and look at Twitter in general, that is used to say Democrats went to college, therefore Democrats' opinions are more valid when it comes to this.
I mean, I guess like that's an extrapolation. I don't think I was trying to make that argument. I might make that argument though, but I mean that's an extrapolation that in some forms and policies can kind of be supported. Not to defend every Democratic position, but there are a decent number of Republican positions that are untenable with any level of education. For instance, the stance on something basic like I don't know if you're religious or not, but a really basic thing like evolution, right? This is something that I feel like it would be very difficult to find an educated person that would want to argue that we should teach creationism in schools, right? That seems like something that you would have to be uneducated to try to defend that argument, right?
So then let's stay in the realm of statistics and extrapolate on that. Then would somebody who's simply just religious, not saying they want to teach creationism, they're really smart, can they be religious?
Yeah, sure.
But doesn't that go against your thing? How can you think that Jesus is the Son of God if you're educated?
Well, I mean, religion comes in all sorts of different flavors. There are people that are, religious but are far less fundamentalist than other people. There are people that believe in evolution as it's written on paper, but it's guided by the hand of God. I mean, there are ways to augment creationism to make it science friendly. Even the Catholic Church does it to some extent with different views. You could argue that a lot of climate change positions are rooted in ignorance on the Republican side, taking single pieces of data about a very complicated system and then trying to say, well, look, this is all bogus.
I agree with you there, but I think something especially like that is not so much your opinions dictated by your education level, but of what side of the political fence you fall on.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think these sides are equal right now. I don't think that there are very many educated people that defend the position of climate change is just a total hoax from China, right? Whereas you can find an overwhelming amount of support for that idea on the Republican side.
Sure. And then to take an example, let's say like, I don't know John McCain's, just to use an example, a certain position. If he was to say climate change is bullshit, it's made up by China, I would be like, okay, John McCain's probably not stupid. He probably actually sees it, but because he's a Republican trying to get reelected, he's going to say that. But I guess that speaks onto the Republican base.
Yeah, that speaks to the base, yeah.
Sure. I just thought it was funny how nobody believed that and I don't even know if you still believe, and we can, I guess, sort this out later, but that because I supported Trump, that it was unbelievable that I had gone through graduate school.
Oh no, I don't think that wasn't the unbelievable part. It was the assertion that an average college-educated person will be about as intelligent as the average uneducated person.
See, I see what you're saying, but I still don't want to give that to you because I bring up examples and you'll call them anecdotes, and I understand that. But if we're talking about what's statistics, statistics is hundreds or thousands or millions of individual data points analyzed together. Well, let's let's just pick a few of those individual data points. If you go to a four-year university in this country and get like, I mean, some of the majors are ridiculous, like dance, general business administration is just like,
Okay, even if you pick a liberal arts degree, you
Sure.
still have to take gen ed classes for 2 years to get it.
Here's the thing with the gen ed. Gen ed, what do you learn in gen ed, especially now? Let's say in like 1950, okay? You grew up on a farm and you decided to go to college. What gen ed would have done for you then is exposed you to subjects and to theories that you would have never otherwise been exposed to. And in that case, gen ed is great because it exposes you to ideas. But now, in 2017, with what we're doing now, you and I right here, with YouTube, with everything, why would like a general Native American literature class be any more valid taking it at a school than just going online and learning about yourself?
Because if people were able to teach themselves everything themselves, we probably wouldn't have a need for schools. I think people generally learn better under a curriculum with some degree of guidance and some kind of professor or teacher guiding them, and then having a standardized way of checking progress to make sure that the material is actually being learned.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but that's a pretty gross generalization to say that.
Yeah, but that generalization is what our entire institution, the entire institution of education, is built on. That. Do you think that if we had no education in the United States, that everybody would just learn everything they'd need to on their own?
Yeah, and that's starting to happen. I mean, honestly,
Wait, how is that starting to happen when the average American has a negative savings rate and a lot of people don't even know how to file their own taxes?
I took a computer programming class in college, okay? And it was dog shit. I learned nothing. It was like general theory, and I paid for that class, and I learned nothing. Now, you're to tell me that it's better to go to school to learn how to be a computer programmer than it is to go on like lynda.com or any thousands of these things online?
Are you married?
No.
Okay, let's say that your mom went to the hospital and you found out that your doctor was a doctor because they had watched every single YouTube video on heart surgery.
Lawyer and scientist, completely different. Doctor, lawyer, scientist, engineer, of course you have to go to college. I'm talking about your business administration kid who went for 4 years. Listen, this is anecdotal, but I think you'll find it vastly true in the average, under the bell curve of American colleges, public colleges. I know people who got like business administration degrees who out of college started off selling cleaning products to businesses because that degree really meant nothing. Okay, their gen ed classes didn't help them at all. They started right where you would have started at 18 had you have done that.
Sure, but now we're talking about job market and whatnot. I mean, I guess I don't know. It's strange to me. So you're essentially saying that education is worthless?
No, I'm saying the idea that if you go to college, throughout your whole life,
So I'm talking about statistics and averages. What I'm saying is that a person going through college is probably, on average, going to know more than a person that didn't go through college.
No more about what?
I don't know, just more about things in general. Have better literary skills, have better critical thinking skills, maybe a little bit better on math or reading. Like,
if I majored in like 18th century British literature, I would know more than you on that.
If you majored in 18th century British literature, you'd probably be a little bit better at critical thinking and analysis. You'd probably be able to read news reports and stories better.
I mean, are you a computer programmer?
No.
You don't know how to program? I thought.
No, I do video games, not programming.
Oh, so you make video games?
Well, I play video games. My job is a glorified monkey, but.
Okay. But you're successful at it, so.
But I mean, like if somebody were to come out of a field, let's say that you wanted to analyze like some statement that came out of the White House, and you had to choose between an average layman and you had no idea what their education background, or you knew they didn't go through college and that's all you know about them, or you could take somebody who'd gone through and done 18th century fucking Renaissance literature, or whatever. That's not I don't know if that's 18th century or not, right? But they do that, right? Well, that person probably can at least read pretty well and probably has like a decent background in critical.
What's to say that the other person can't read well?
I'm just talking in averages. Just on average.
But no, you're not talking. You're talking about two hypothetical people.
No, but I'm just talking. If I took a guy that worked at Jiffy Lube, there's like a 99% chance that he can change his oil, right?
Sure.
If I take a normal person, they might not be able to do it. I'm not saying that no person can change their oil. There's a ton of people that don't work at a garage that can change their car's oil. But I know that if the guy went to Jiffy Lube and works at Jiffy Lube, I know he can change the oil. That doesn't mean everybody else can't.
Sure.
Same thing. So just because I'm saying that the layman doesn't have a degree doesn't mean he's 100% certified idiot. But I know for a fact that somebody that's got a 4-year degree has accomplished at least that. That's somebody that can show up for 4 or 5 years, go to school every day, complete their homework, take exams, do tests, read and do math at a decent level, and pass out of college. Like that says something. Now it doesn't say this person's a genius, but it says something, you know.
Says something that they can just continue with what they did in high school. You're right. Just show up. That's what most of college is. Showing up, going, I get it, studying.
Yeah, but that's what most of life is. You just described like 90% of jobs is showing up to your job, doing the work, and going home.
Would you rather have, let's say, here's an example. Let's say we're talking about something in economics. And let's say you have somebody who is an economics professor, but they've never had an actual job in the marketplace. They just went to school, got their doctorates, and then became a professor. And you have a question about economics. And on the other side, you have somebody who, let's say, has been a commodities trader for the last 30 years, who somehow didn't go to college, but is just really good at what they do. Whose opinion would you take? That depends on what you want to know. And so this context of our conversation is whose opinions politically are more valid.
Okay, but this is my problem is you're citing these exceptional examples, which is so intellectually dishonest. Again, this would be like some guy says, I want to grow up and I want to be a computer programmer. I'm in high school. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to work on projects. I'm going to get my comp sci degree and I'm going to do that. Right. And then someone else says, dude, Bill Gates dropped out of high school. Everybody should drop out of high school because everybody can be Bill Gates. Like that's an absurd statement to make.
No, not even Bill Gates. Why would you, let's stick with computer programming. Why would you go to college to code computer? Why would you pay and then have to take those gen ed classes? This is the thing about gen ed and this idea. If everybody that went to college and if colleges didn't lower their bar because their bars are just getting lower and lower because they want to make money. Public universities want to make money. If everybody went to college and was like, I want to be better, then I would agree more with your opinion. But colleges have turned into, and this is kind of my point, they're degree mills. They're for people who don't know what they want to do, who just think, college seems better because this study said I'll have a higher IQ if I get this degree. And I think we'll see more and more as more people have access to alternative educations like the internet, that just going to college doesn't make you more knowledgeable in life. I had 6 years of higher education. I took like a multivariate statistics graduate course. It was the hardest fucking thing I ever did. And I passed it. I worked my ass off. But I don't know anything. I can't tell you anything about multivariate statistics anymore because that was like however many years ago. So what does a gen ed class that you take at 20 do for you at 30?
I mean, what does it say about the person that can't even take or pass that class if that class is so easy?
Why are you assuming that person can't do it? What if that person chose not to do it?
I mean, going by your argument, then why do we have any education at all? Everybody can just go out and learn everything on their own.
And I kind of agree with you. Unless you want to be something very specialized where you know you're going to have to learn science, math, doctor, engineer, anything like that, absolutely go to college if that's what you want to do. If you're going to college for like fashion design, which is the university I went to, a lot of girls went there. It's like, what are you doing? I don't think because you got a degree in fashion design that your IQ is higher than my buddy who became an electrician out of high school.
I mean, not everybody, first of all, not everybody that doesn't go to college picks up like a skilled trade, like becomes an electrician or a plumber.
Sure.
Like there are a lot of people that only bounce around like random minimum wage jobs and whatnot. Like this comparison that like, cause I may feel like you're making these really dishonest comparisons where like the average person that doesn't go to college becomes an electrician. Or the average person that goes to college gets a worthless degree.
You know how many college degree people are working at Starbucks and Macy's?
Probably not as many as people that don't have college degrees at all. Like you're acting like the average college degree, or the average person that doesn't have a college degree is going to become an electrician or a plumber.
Dude, I live in a place where there's so many Mexican immigrants, and they're all the only construction workers out here. And I guarantee you, they didn't go to college. Why do you assume somebody who doesn't go to college must be like a gas station attendant? Like, what do you think people who don't go to college? Yes, I'm sure there are dumb people.
Okay, can you explain to me graphs like this that show that people that have 4-year degrees on average earn $15,000 to $20,000 more in a salary than people that don't even have a college degree?
Yeah, but I thought we weren't talking about how much money you make, because I can show you people who were entrepreneurs straight out of
Yeah,
high
but
school.
you're giving me exceptions. Can you explain to me, is it because the people that don't go to college are smart enough to realize they don't need the money?
Do you think it's just by making more money you're smarter than somebody else?
In general, usually people that go after higher paying jobs are able to do so because they have the qualifications to do it. Whether you want to call that smarter or more knowledgeable or whatnot, you're telling me that if I were to go and talk to a high school dropout who's making 25, 30,000 a year, you think that this person is somebody that wants to make that much money that wouldn't go after a 50K job if he had the opportunity to?
He probably would. I don't see.
So why? Tell me why. When I look, and I can find you 50 million graphs like this because I know the data supports what I'm saying. Why is it that the average salary with a college degree is so much better than without a college degree?
Because now we're getting different things. Because college degree jobs make more money. But the whole crux.
Okay,
of this
but just
argument
earlier you were joking that college degree people get jobs at Starbucks,
a lot of them do.
but clearly not enough to bring down the median wages of the average bachelor's degree
I'm sure
holder.
that's not. But to say the argument here is, are you more? And then we had this conversation on Twitter in a political environment. Is your political opinion more valid because you're quote unquote smarter because you went to college? I'm telling you, college is a degree mill unless you're very specified.
Then why don't these poor people
About
just go to a
college-
degree mill
College
and
gets your foot in the door for your first job. Honestly, my brother, and there's another anecdotal thing, went for visual communications. He makes a lot of money now, but he went for school. He films like sporting events and is the director in the truck. And he's working with guys who never went to college. It's this idea that you have to go to college to just be smarter, and it's totally not valid, especially now anymore. And if you want, and the idea that, oh, you didn't go to college, you're a Republican, therefore you're stupid or you're dumber than a college-educated Democrat. You know why college-educated people are so much more Democrat? You think that the curriculum in American universities is right-leaning? I mean, who are American professors now? They're all the anti-Vietnam professors that just stayed in school from the 60s and 70s.
you have a master's degree in geology, correct?
Yes.
The president of the United States right now is a Republican, and the stance of the Republican Party right now is that global warming is a myth perpetuated by China. How do you expect educational institutions or educated people to take the sides of the Republican Party when they have official stances like that?
Because that's not the only stance. And his interior secretary has a very nuanced response to that I don't know how anybody disagrees with.
I don't care about the nuanced response of people beneath him. Trump is the president of the United States. Everything comes top down from him. Okay?
Right.
And Republicans in general are opposed to, for instance, Trump's new energy plan doesn't make any mention of any, I think it's wind farms or solar plans or solar power or whatever. Trump wants to go back and bring back clean coal or whatever the fuck that means. So when you have policies in place like this, or when you have Republicans en masse championing things like getting rid of contraception or abstinence-only education, when abortion rates are at 40-year lows, when you see...
Because they're uneducated is not true. They do that because they're religious and they're conservative. And that's,
Sure. I'm just saying that this idea that education is liberal, well, when the facts tend to side with liberals on some of these issues, it's really hard for it to be right-leaning.
But I think what you're citing Trump was definitely on the campaign trail. I believe that he's since walked back that claim that it's just a hoax made up by China.
I don't care if he has or hasn't. He tweeted it over 20 times. That's not a claim that a 70-year-old can walk back. He can't go back on everything he said when he was 68, 69 years old. And I don't think he's walked it back. I haven't heard from him walking it back.
I mean, do you think that he just can't understand the climate data, or do you think he was trying to win an election on the Republican ticket?
It doesn't matter.
Do you think Trump is stupid?
It doesn't matter. If he's appealing to a stupid voter base, that speaks more to the Republican Party than it does to
It
Trump.
doesn't matter after he pulled the biggest political upset in the history of politics that his stance on global warming doesn't matter, that he said it was fake. He won that election partly because of that stance. I bet you he thinks global warming is real. To the extent of what humans are responsible and what we should do.
Then why was he tweeting about it before ever running for office? This is something that he tweeted about for multiple years prior to that.
Because I'm sure he was just
entertaining the idea the entire time of running.
Yeah, because didn't he not throw his ring in the hat the previous election? He
Um,
got stumped.
I think he was exploring the idea. I don't think he actually ran the 4 years previous, but
I mean, if you got to imagine that I mean, does business all over the world. And if you're, to use an example, China, and you see, okay, these fuckers are kicking our ass in everything industrial, and they're not following anything climate rules wise. But back here, and he does have a point. I'm not saying I don't think climate change is false. Let me just put that on the table. But he does have a point that some rules that politicians have made up and saying, okay, this will help bring down our CO2 levels in 100 years. You have no fucking idea, but you do have an idea that it's going to cost more for a business to run in this country because of that. So I think that's 100% where he was coming from.
Okay, but there are intelligent ways to state that. Like when you
Sure.
talk about things like, I think there was like the Kyoto Protocol, there are different conferences on global warming in the past. The problem with a lot of these conferences is that they exempt developing nations from a lot of these same kind of climate policing things, like India and China, which does
Sure.
give them an unfair competitive edge. That's an argument that a reasonable, educated, intelligent person can make that everybody should be able to understand. I think that it's bullshit that China is able to outcompete with us in these different fields because they don't have to follow the same stringent climate policies that we do. That's a fine argument. I would support that argument. I actually think that argument is wholeheartedly true, environmental issues aside. But I would never try to back that argument up by saying that climate change is a fucking hoax and then saying that we need to destroy the EPA and fuck the
Correct.
planet and we'll just jump behind. Because Trump's plan, you've never heard Trump on the campaign trail talking about bringing down more environmental controls on China or India. That's never what Trump is talking about. What Trump has talked about is eliminating or defunding the EPA. Right? That's his stance. So that doesn't seem to be going in a direction where we're making things more competitive. That's just destroying the EPA so that we can all play in the same shitty playing field.
Okay, I can agree to parts of that. And I don't defend everything Trump says, and I don't think he's infallible. I think he does some stupid shit, so I'm not in here as an ardent Trump supporter. Again, I didn't vote for him nor Hillary Clinton, but
Jesus fucking
Well,
Christ,
I guess what has
this
Trump
guy's
done
the
so far that
definition
you
of
support,
cognitive
that you're
dissonance.
supportive of?
I'm supportive of his laws on lobbying. I'm supportive of his stance on veterans and law enforcement.
If
And
you're
I'm
supportive of his laws on lobbying, why do you think it's okay that Steve Bannon has infiltrated the White House as deeply as he has, that he's got a chair in the National Security Council?
same vein, I thought, see, now it's Bannon is the puppet, when before it was Russia and Putin is the puppet. And you know, if Russia and Putin and Bannon weren't around, it would be the Koch brothers are the puppet. There's always some puppet. Do you honestly think Donald Trump ran that whole campaign and 99% of everybody in the media and everybody was against him saying you have no fucking chance, you're never going to win. He wins, that he's just going to get in the White House and go, okay, Steve, well, what do you think I should do now?
Okay, I'm going to get, hold on, I want to guess something. Are you 6'2"? How tall are you?
Around 6 foot.
Okay. Did you play basketball in college?
No.
Oh, that was a really good pivot, but it had nothing to do with my question. My question was, why is Steve Bannon so deep in the White House when he's just the head of a media conglomerate, when he's the head of Breitbart? I don't know where everything about Putin and Russia came in from. I'm asking about Bannon. Why is Bannon so deeply embedded in the White House if we're quote-unquote getting rid of lobbyists and all of that?
Because who do you want him to replace with? Do you think
Somebody
like,
that doesn't have like a massive...
This is what's funny because let me do a basketball move and pivot here because this is the same vein. Let's use Rex Tillerson for example, and people are all up in arms. I thought he was going to drain the swamp. He's got Lehman Brothers. Was there anybody on the left who was like, hey, I haven't like a Bernie Sanders type? You're like, hey, Trump, let me work with you. First off, his pool of picking anybody was as shallow as any politician's ever been, and second, who do you want? Do you want like just a regular Joe Schmo from the street? Like this idea that like, oh, he's putting all these people in who have ties to Lehman Brothers. Well, yeah, I'd hope he puts some fucking people who know what they're doing in there. Like that whole argument, I just think is really weak.
Okay, so then you don't believe in anything you said about lobbying. You don't think there's any alternative. There has to be lobbyists and people.
Well, I don't think Rex Tillerson should be allowed to go from the White House to back to Exxon. No,
Do you think, did you vote for Aleppo Johnson?
No, I wrote in Bernie.
Okay. If Bernie Sanders or Aleppo Johnson or Jill Stein were president, do you think that their picks for Secretary of State would be like ex-CEO of ExxonMobil? Do you think that would be their pick? Or do you think they would find somebody that's not quite as deeply embedded into like corporate money and whatnot as that person?
Why is like choosing a Rex Tillerson bad? He ran one of the biggest corporations in the history of America, one of the biggest money-making corporations in the history of this country's ever seen. and it's bad that he's our
What does
Secretary.
running a big business have to do with being Secretary of State? First
He's
off,
done business all over the world.
and
The
that's
Secretary-
what makes a Secretary of State is somebody that's done business
Part of it.
everywhere.
What makes part of it? What makes a career politician like Hillary Clinton Secretary of State for Obama?
Somebody
She-
with experience being ambassador and dealing with political dealings with tons of other countries around the world.
Job in her life. I thought that's what the left used to care about. Remember, like back in Occupy, it was like, get all these politicians out here. We don't want any more politicians. And then so here comes Trump, not a politician. Oh, he's terrible. He's not a politician. He puts in all these people who aren't politicians. Now all of a sudden that point's bad.
Why did we not like politicians? Because they were beholden to lobbyists.
Right.
So now we're getting rid of the politicians and we're putting the lobbyists right into
Trump-
the government.
What
That's the
lobbyist-
problem. It's
what
not a
lobbyist
win.
is Trump is Trump tied to
Trump is a lobbyist. He donated to every single person on the Republican stage.
Who donated to his? Who don't? Wall Street didn't donate.
No, they don't need to because he's the lobbyist. He doesn't need donations. He has his own money and his own business interests. We saw it today when he called out Nordstrom or whatever for stopping to selling his fucking daughter's products or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Right. So what?
So he's literally lobbying as president for a
No, he's
business.
not- Dude, that's corporate bullying. We've seen this going on all the time.
But he's
where-
the president. I thought we wanted the president so that we could get rid of lobbyists. Could you imagine if Obama made a statement saying, I disapprove
Dude,
that
this is
7-Eleven isn't selling this pop anymore, and you found out that Obama got $100,000 from 7-Up or Mr. Pibb or whatever? People would be fucking furious. But when Mr. Pibb himself is the president, he can start talking shit about other soda manufacturers? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Trump didn't attack, what was it, Nordstrom's or Macy's?
Nordstrom's.
Trump didn't go after Nordstrom's because they simply pulled Ivanka's stuff because it wasn't selling well. They pulled Ivanka's stuff because their last name's Trump. That's why he went after him.
Is there proof of that?
What do you think, dude? Come on. What do you
I don't think Ivanka even sells any good shit. She's just like a celebrity. Isn't that pretty common for celebrity shit? That it's popular for like a year or two and then they drop it? Like,
all of a sudden, all those people refuse to dress Melania and Ivanka. All those people. You really think it's just a coincidence? Trump's been president 2 weeks.
even if it is, it's not the president's job to start
No.
bullying private companies
Not
around.
recommended, Trump's like Twitter behavior, which I agree is at times egregious, and it's like, why are you even doing? But at other times, I am for it because he's completely jumping over the media and just telling you how it is.
But how it is, I mean, we live in the United States. A private business can sell whatever they want. Why should you have to worry
Sure.
about backlash from the president as a private business over whose line you decide to carry?
Private business shouldn't be making their decisions based on if they're carrying the president's daughter's line.
A
Like,
private business can do whatever they want. It's a private business. As long as they're not discriminating against a protected class, they can
is it
stop.
illegal for Trump to do that?
What?
Is it illegal for Trump to tweet that?
I don't know, but it's sure as fuck is unethical.
Okay, well, it's not illegal. I think it's unethical for fucking Nordstrom's to pull his shit.
So
about
that's
Black
your mark.
Trump.
So that's your mark is whether or not it's legal or not. That's going to be the line. As long as Trump doesn't do something illegal, then it's okay.
That's why we have the Constitution. Yes, that is the mark. Of course, the left is never going to see what Trump does as anything good.
I mean, if he, I disagree. I think a Supreme Court pick was actually okay. It could have been a lot fucking worse.
Sure.
It wasn't horrible.
Sure.
But a lot of the other shit that he's done has been like beyond description of just.
Here, let me throw you a what if like Ted Cruz had won the presidency? There would still be people. The Women's March probably still would have happened, right? They're just not. People just aren't happy with conservative.
Okay, you're giving all sorts of like these crazy false equivalencies and these like
not
the
crazy.
the women's march. Dog, Trump is literally on record saying that like I'll fuck any woman I want because I'm fucking
Dude, that was-
famous.
You want to get into that? I'll get into that with you. That was shit talking with a dude 12 years ago. And he said it was locker room talk, and all those athletes are like, well, we don't talk like that in the locker room. Bull fucking shit. I played 7th grade football. We talk like that in the locker room.
7th grade footballers aren't running for president.
But dude, you know what's funny is that argument is like, oh, he can't say that because you can't say that against women. If that was true, 90% of the rap songs that are popular in the United States, people would be up in arms about. But they're
Rappers
not.
aren't running for president.
But here's the thing. But okay, so is it okay for me, because I'm not running for president, to go up to a girl and say, hey, can I grab you by the pussy? Do you think that's okay for me?
No, it's not. But the
not
standards
running
are a
for
little
president.
different. It
not
doesn't
running
make
for
it okay. But like if you're an entertainer and you're
Yes,
private and
and
you want to
ask
do
him
some shit
about
like
the
that, then
emo-
that's on you.
Why is that okay?
I'm not saying that it's okay.
But that's the hypocritical thing, and that's what when I was in college, I was a liberal, and that's the thing that's really been turning me off. It's hypocritical. If you're going to say this guy can't say grab him by the pussy because it's wrong to say grab him by the pussy, then these people can't be calling women bitches and hoes and half the shit that we let other people get away with. If you're up in arms because you can't disrespect women like that, you should be doing fucking a protest every other day about things that have nothing to do with politics.
I don't agree with this idea that just because you can watch a movie or listen to a rapper say a certain thing, that means that it's suddenly okay for the president of the United States to do it. You're trying.
12 years ago, dude. He wasn't the president.
12 years ago, he was like 58 years old. It's not like he said this when he was a teenager.
Famous rich guys, what do you think their conversations are about?
I don't know, but it looks really bad when women have been protesting for fair treatment under the law and for equal rights, and guys are constantly saying, dude, shut the fuck up, women have it fine, there is no double standard, stop being a bitch, calm the fuck down. And then you get a president of the United States who's literally on record in his late 50s saying, I'd just like to grab him by the pussy, you know? That sounds kind of bad, you know?
A guy in a bus where nobody was around.
He was mic'd, dog. He was mic'd when he said it.
Funny about that is people were like, now think about it, the children have heard our president say that. If you didn't fucking leak that tape, or if somebody didn't leak that tape and Washington Post didn't try to bring down his presidential run with that, no children would have ever heard him say that.
It's not about what he said, it's about what he thinks, and it's about the fact that that idea can trickle down.
Dude, people aren't like abusing women now all of a sudden because Trump is in office.
It's like not. It doesn't have to be like a direct abuse. Like it could just be like a general like thought or a general trend in thought or general feeling amongst a population of people. Much the same way that people can still experience racism or sexism without somebody literally lynching them or killing them for being a black or being a woman.
Women have been more detrimentally affected by what Donald Trump said 12 years ago, or by like rap culture and how they treat women. What do you think has been more detrimental in this country towards attitudes?
Why does it have to be a dilemma between one or the other? It can be both.
Nobody's saying anything about if people were out.
But that's not true. People talk about rap culture and shit all the fucking time. It's just it's not as I mean, we can search for blogs of people that criticize different lyrics from different rappers. Look at all the hate that fucking Chris Brown gets for beating the shit out of fucking Rihanna or whatever. Like, there's tons of people that have problems with shit like that, but it's not as popular. And I mean, apparently, women all around the world, across all 7 continents, disagree with you because they all felt like it was decent enough to march against during that Women's March. I mean, I feel like there's probably something going on here, right?
Yeah, there is something going on. And what Trump, whether you like him or not, what he's done is, for the first time in my lifetime, made people actually actively engaged in their politics. So whether you hate him or like him, the fact that everybody's paying attention now to what the president's done is a net benefit.
If you were to elect somebody and they were to walk around raping everybody in the White House, that would probably cause people to pay attention too, but that doesn't speak to the merits of the person doing it.
That's a big jump, but okay.
Well, your argument is that, well, at least people are paying attention now, so he can do abhorrent shit and it's okay because people are...
What has he done? Like, this idea that, like, he's tearing down this country and we're going to be, like, nuclear war. Like, it's the whole left is Chicken Little.
I mean, which particular action do you want to talk about? How about this weird idea that we need to go back to Iraq and take their oil? They're supposed to be our ally.
Take the travel ban.
Okay, how about the travel ban? We arbitrarily picked 7 countries and banned travel from them. Why?
Where did that list come from?
From the previous administration?
Right.
Where did the ban come from?
You think that's really...
Where did the travel ban come from? I don't care where the list came from because Obama's administration didn't ban travel from these 7 countries. They were just identified as being potential terrorist hotspots. He didn't ban travel from all of them.
Right. Because he didn't want to fucking take the heat. But why?
Or because maybe there were other ways to deal with it. Maybe they have increased screening or vetting for people coming from these places.
Because people in the Sudan keep great fucking public records. Dude,
how many terrorist attacks have we had from people coming from Sudan?
How many terrorist attacks in Europe have been done by second
We're not Europe. I don't care about Europe.
Why aren't we Europe? Just because our ocean's separate. We're not Europe yet. Dude, is
the ocean going away anytime soon?
What?
Is the ocean going away anytime soon?
No, but you better believe there's a whole group of people who want to just basically bridge that ocean and bring those people over here. That travel ban, you just say arbitrarily list. Do you think, like, I think what you're saying and what the left in general is really naive and really downplaying the state of the world. I think everybody thinks like, oh, these people they're disenfranchised, and if they just had a chance, they'd think like us. Like, have we not learned our lesson? We tried to bring democracy to Iraq this last decade. They didn't fucking want it. Okay, not because democracy was broken, because that's just not how they operate. So to say like this list is arbitrary of Libya and the Sudan and fucking Afghanistan or Iraq and all these other countries is that's disingenuous. So this reason we came on here is that Trump is whatever he's done, it's been so overblown. Sessions as the attorney general is another thing. They think it's going to be like all out war on black people on the streets. It's not. He hasn't done anything illegal. He has done nothing to be brought up on impeachment charges, although people are calling to get him impeached every single day.
We're not sure right now if the travel ban is legal or not. That's something that I think the Ninth Circuit has already heard oral arguments on that, and they're going to talk about whether they're going to go forward with the case. That's still something that's going to be decided. I think right now the travel ban is currently suspended, I think, federally across the entire United States. I think.
Sure. It'll go to the Supreme Court either way.
Sure. So.
But I mean, like the travel ban is not. First off, it's not a Muslim ban because Indonesia and Egypt and a dozen other countries would be on that if it was.
If I walk into a black school and I kill every black person, can I say that I didn't do a black person shooting spree because there were still 2 million black people that were unaffected by it in the United States?
Yeah, that's. How tall are you?
No, you just said that it's not a Muslim ban because it doesn't target all Muslims. Why is it that we have Trump on record multiple times saying that he wants to ban Muslims? Why did Rudy Giuliani, the guy that helped him draft it, why is he on record saying, I want to ban Muslims? Or Trump came to me and said he wants to ban Muslims. He wants a legal way to do it, right? Why did we ban travel from 7 Muslim-majority countries? Why is Trump on record saying he will give preferential treatment to Christians? These kinds of things make it look like a certain group is being targeted. Do you disagree?
How are we Are we going after them? How are we targeting them? The last administration targeted Muslims, and the George W. Bush administration targeted Muslims. Listen, that travel.
I'm not talking about George W.
120 days. That's not a ban on Muslims coming in the United States. That's
120 days. First of all, this is all irrelevant.
What can come here?
Okay. Why did we ban travel from 7 Muslim-majority countries? Say we were going to give because
and they're shitholes.
You think Iran is a shithole?
Dude, do you understand what the Ayatollah is just as important as the president in that country and wants to wipe Israel and America off the map?
Then why haven't we had a whole bunch of terrorists coming from Iran into our country?
I don't know.
Why haven't we had a bunch of terrorists coming into our country from Iraq or from Syria?
Just let everybody in. I'm pretty sure that kid at Ohio State was from one of those countries, was he not?
I think the Ohio State stabber might have been from Sudan. But San Bernardino wasn't from any of those countries. None of the 9/11 people were from any of those countries. The Pulse shooting club dude wasn't from any of those countries.
So just not worry about those countries at all?
It's not about not worrying. It's about having a reasonable foreign policy that doesn't alienate us from the rest of the world and incite more hatred. Why would you...
That's a bullshit argument, excite more hatred. You and I are not allowed in Saudi Arabia?
I don't give a fuck, first of all. I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Secondly, I don't want the standards of my country that is supposed to be the freest country on the fucking earth. That's the bullshit that I was fed for 28 years of my life. I don't want my standards to be compared to Saudi Arabia. When you wake up in the morning as an American citizen and you say the Pledge of Allegiance, do you think, I hope we do a little bit better than Saudi Arabia today?
Why are you so concerned about non-citizens?
What? Because they're humans. Because we're the United States of America. Because that's always been our motto.
The Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights extends to the borders of this country. And if you want to be the Mother Teresa of the world...
It's not about being the Mother Teresa of the world. Go and read the inscription on the Statue of Liberty. Look at the 1900s. How many different groups of immigrants have come to our country that we've welcomed with open arms, that have built amazing businesses? Fucking Trump's mom is a fucking immigrant. Trump's wife is an immigrant. She came here on a fucking green card. So even Trump loves immigrants. What is this idea that we need to exclude the rest of the world? That doesn't make any sense. That's never how this country has worked.
Like the rest of the world, 7 countries have a temporary travel restriction on them. And you're saying we want to exclude the rest of the world. Can a Muslim from Egypt come here? Yes, they can.
Why would we restrict travel from 7 countries when we're trying to build bridges with the rest of the world?
It's a brand new administration, and these countries, throughout different administrations, have said these countries are dangerous countries.
But we haven't had. There is tons of. Saudi Arabia is a dangerous country. Why are people from Saudi Arabia allowed to travel here?
Because our relationship with this whole country, Saudi Arabia, is fucked. Nobody's died from increased CO2 levels. Do you want to just stop worrying about climate change?
First of all, I'm not even sure if that's true in terms of climate change related deaths. I don't know how many of those are around the world. But I mean, the problem I have is that it seems like people like you seem to think that like Muslims in general represent this great threat to the West, when in reality, there's like 50 million things that are so much more relevant to talk about.
I agree with you. I think what we should, before we like, Starbucks is like, oh, we're going to hire a bunch of refugees. How many homeless veterans that are citizens and have done something for this country could use services like that?
I don't know. It sucks that the VA is having trouble hiring doctors right now because Trump just made a massive across-the-board federal freeze on new hires for...
Yeah, that wasn't the VA's problem.
I mean, some people have complained about it now from the VA, but...
Trump is the only person for a long time that actually... Don't you think that he's actually going to try to do something with that? I don't think Trump is in here to make money. I don't think Trump's in here because he's a puppet of Putin. I honestly think he wants to make...
Oh yeah, and Starbucks already has a program to hire vets anyway. If Trump cared so much about the soldiers, why is he talking about sending people back into Iraq?
Because he wants to counter-fight ISIS.
ISIS isn't in Iraq. They're almost completely kicked out. ISIS is dead, dog. ISIS is a nobody now on the world stage. They haven't been for like the past year.
Okay, I don't think that is going to hold up. If it's not ISIS, it's going to be somebody else.
So we're just perpetually stuck against the elusive, invisible boogeyman? There's always going to be some terrorism somewhere? Isn't this like 1984? We're always at war with Eurasia or some other random at any point in time? Like...
Yeah, and I think we should get the fuck out of the Middle East and generally leave them alone.
How does that align with Trump's view of going back and taking all of Iraq's oil?
Okay, that Iraq's oil thing, again, was on the campaign trail. You have to separate those two.
I'm pretty sure... Okay, so everything that he said when he was campaigning, I have to ignore?
Not ignore, but don't say it like it's actually happening in the world right now.
Okay.
I mean, have we not learned anything from politicians over the last decades that what they say in the campaign trail?
I thought the whole point about Trump was that he wasn't a politician, was that he was draining the swamp and that he was being really honest.
Dude, he is doing some of those things, and he's doing things that he's campaigned on.
Okay, so then I think it's fair to say he's going to send troops to Iraq to take back the oil, because he is doing some things, right?
Maybe he will, but I think that's stupid. Again, I won't defend, if that's the reason he goes back into Iraq, I will not be somebody who defends that reason.
Why would you defend a travel ban that hurts our relationship with 7 other countries across the world when we're supposed to be strengthened?
You and I are not in the national intelligence community. Here, it harks back to... I think a lot of people...
Dog, Trump gets his national intelligence briefings from Fox News when he goes up to his room at night.
Come on, you don't actually believe
That's what multiple reports have said, and all of his tweets that come after the O'Reilly factor all reference stats from the show.
You don't think that like General Mattis has like an opinion that's probably more valid than most people in this country, and he doesn't have Trump's ear?
I don't know. The previous administration didn't seem keen to ban any of these countries, and they'd even identified them. So why does Trump's administration think it's a good idea to do so? He didn't put forth any of those arguments. The only arguments that he's put forth are imaginary terror attacks that hadn't happened, and one real terror attack that did happen that he stopped talking about when they found out the shooter was white.
Iraqi refugees?
What?
Didn't the Obama administration restrict Iraqi refugees for 6 months?
It's not even close to comparable.
Why?
1, it was passed as legislation through Congress. 2, it was in regards to a very specific terror plot that was foiled by people specifically coming as refugees from Iraq. 3, it wasn't a total ban. It was only an increased vetting process from people coming from those countries. 4, it didn't impact people with green cards or visas already.
People are fine now. They got detained for like 14 hours. Dude, that was 100
Yeah, now because there is a massive... It's because it was ruled. First of all, these are just people that got detained. It doesn't talk about all the people that were turned back, okay, that weren't even allowed to travel back.
Okay, but if you have a valid green card now, you're fine. Yes.
Yeah, now you are, because it was overruled in the federal courts because we've gotten a fucking injunction or whatever against it. Now it is, but not according to the original executive order.
Before that, yes, Trump rolled that out in a very shitty way. But the idea of it, I don't disagree with because, dude, you honestly think, what do you think extreme vetting of somebody from fucking Libya is like? How do you vet somebody from Libya if they don't have a fucking birth certificate even?
I mean, I think our 14 fucking intelligence agencies do a lot to do it.
We depend on the UN for all that stuff.
First of all the people that are even recommended to the UN, only 1% get referred to the United States. And of those people, only 50% even make it through the process. And that process is like 18 to 24 months long.
What's the worst that can happen by restricting travel for 120 days for those countries?
It makes us look bad domestically to Muslims that are already here. It makes us look bad around the world. It's potential propaganda fodder for people that say that we hate Muslims because it's a strong argument in favor of it. It weakens our relationships with all 7 of those countries that are on the travel ban. And in general, it just seems to further into this idea that America is backing itself into some incredibly frightened corner for no reason. I think it plays negatively in a lot of different ways. The state of Washington is trying to make the argument that there's economic loss suffered. And it's also a big slap in the face to people that we've worked with in Iraq that we promised green cards and whatnot over here in the United States. This is why the CIA came out being against the travel ban, because now those people are all fucked as well.
Sure, I agree with some parts. It wasn't rolled out. Some parts, like that green part, were pretty shitty. But I don't think the idea of a travel ban ordered from the president for 7 countries out of hundreds of countries around the world is going to, like, destroy this nation and like what it represents.
It's not going to destroy the nation, but that's not what we're talking about. It doesn't have to destroy the nation to be bad. I can chop your hand off and it's not going to kill you. You can stitch it up. You'll be okay. You'll probably still have about the same lifespan as you would have before, but you don't want to get your hand chopped off. Why would you make that argument that it's not going to destroy the country, so it's not a big deal? I think it's a pretty big affront to what the United States is supposed to stand for. And if the intent of this ban was to target Islamic people, that's a massive affront to what the United States is supposed to be for. I am not a Christian. I do not live in a Christian-ruled country, and I don't want a presidential leader making religious decisions about who can or cannot come into this country, at least in regards to the fact that we're in some holy war with Islamic people.
I agree. It shouldn't be that, but I think those 7 countries specifically are a little more than just there's Muslims here.
Well, then I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice if Trump would have released any of those statements, huh? Would have given some inkling for as to why they were banned. Maybe that would give us a little bit more to go on, and maybe they wouldn't be getting trashed in courts around the country as people look to overturn the executive order.
I don't think that's going to get overturned when it's all said and done. I think that's well within his powers to do that.
I will see what the Ninth Circuit, I guess, thinks about it.
I think the Ninth Circuit is going to overturn it.
And then it'll go to the Supreme Court, and then I guess we'll see from there.
Yeah. But anyway.
Even if you argue that it was okay for him to do it, the way that he did it was mind-blowingly fucking horrible.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid. He has smart people around him. He should have consulted.
Well, he doesn't have any smart people around him. He's got random businessmen. He's got a guy that was the head of Breitbart Media. Like, I don't know if any of these people around him are capable of giving him the advice that he needs. And the fact that he spends so much of his time watching TV, like, I'm not actually sure.
I think he has plenty of smart people around him. That idea that he, like, when he first got elected, people were like, turns out Trump doesn't know he needs to hire a bunch of people for his cabinet. Like, really? He doesn't know that? Who the fuck believes
If
that?
he's got so many smart people around him, then why was this executive order such a disaster? So much so that the previous attorney general martyred herself for it. And that the rollout was so haphazardly done, and that people all across the country were protesting, and people all across the country that were even working were confused. The Department of Homeland Security didn't know how to treat it initially. They had to put out a statement that night saying, well, by the way, guys, just so you know, we really are supporting this. Like, why if he's got so many knowledgeable people around him, why was it such a clusterfuck getting this executive order out? A pretty massive one at that.
I don't know why he did it that way. I can't speak for him on that.
How do you think about Betsy DeVos? Or DeVos, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. I only read it.
I admittedly don't know too much about her. I don't like where she comes from and that she's like a billionaire and just seemed to have bought her way into this position. I'm not totally against charter schools if that's what she's pushing for, but I admittedly am not too knowledgeable on her stances about everything.
Gotcha.
What do you feel?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything good about her. She seems crazy. She doesn't seem to know much about public education at all. She couldn't answer any questions well. A lot of her money comes from, I think she married into the Amway business.
Yeah, they're like billionaires or some shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Trump is going to be like. I don't think he's the greatest president ever.
What about this fascination over the inauguration crowds? Why did he draw this on so much?
Yeah, but I think that is because really, and you have to admit that the media, mainstream media, shits on him constantly, and he is pushing up against that. Whether you say that is what the president should do or should not do is a different argument. But I actually wished Obama would have done this with places like Fox News, would just come out and be like, no, that's not true. The inauguration crowd size is a little, I don't know, juvenile or insignificant. But
yeah, but Trump is the one that made this into like a presidential, like international deal.
Yeah, it's not like he just came out and said, look at my inauguration crowd. It was everything was, look at Trump's inauguration crowd. Look at it compared to Obama's, and nobody wants to go. And
there was like one video posted, and then Trump went crazy. He even spent time talking to reporters that went to the White House like the day after. And when Spicer came out to give his statement, the first thing that he did was spend 5 minutes talking about the size of the crowd. Doesn't this seem incredibly juvenile? Like insanely just...
Sure, some of it does, but I mean, on the other half of that, and it wasn't just one video. It was every fucking blog, leftist blog that's against Trump on Inauguration Day was picking up on it. And he said back, and I don't know, I wasn't in D.C., so I don't know what the real crowd size. Trump could be right. And if he was right, if they were disingenuous and somehow falsified that, I'm glad that he said out.
I mean, there's videos of it. It wasn't disingenuous. Like, it's pretty well documented. Not to mention that Spicer came out and just flat out lied about some things. Like, why did he lie about he said they needed, like, magnetotrons or whatever, magnetospheres or something, and, like, that wasn't used. He said that the crowd size was the biggest it had ever been. That's just patently false. Like, you can tell from all the video footage, like, there are time-lapse videos of everything. Like, it's, like, I guess it's kind of shitty to make a big deal about it, but why would you pick this hill to die on? Like, you're gonna go to war defending the size of your inauguration crowd? Like, that just reeks of pettiness.
Yeah, I think it was just putting the media on notice is that you're not going to get away with just shitting on him for shitting on him.
What do you mean? Wait, putting the media on notice for reporting facts?
No, not to say that the media is going to get shut down and you're going to get jailed, but you're not going to say, like, Trump didn't know he had to hire a cabinet and then just, like, run with that. Dude, how many stories...
I mean, there are still hundreds of appointments that are missing right now that the Trump administration hasn't made. Like,
how many stories have been put out since he's been elected where they put it out and everybody tweets it, the Washington Post and all this shit, and then, like, 6 hours later, they're like, oh, retraction. So that's what he's going up.
How many times has that happened? I think this happened once with, like, somebody talking about the MLK bust missing or whatever.
Oh, yeah, there was that and there was more. I can send you something, and same way you sending me something. But that's what he's saying. You're not going to shit on me because no matter what he does, going back to the inauguration, if Bernie gave that speech, if Bernie would have won and given that speech that Trump gave, we would have been like, good for you, Bernie. That's exactly what we...
I don't think so, dude. I don't think Bernie would have given another campaign speech, which is kind of what his thing sounded like.
Dude, he called out, Trump in that inauguration speech called out past administrations, elites, and the working class being looked down upon.
Trump is the definition of an elite. Like, you can't get any more elite than a billionaire in the United States.
Yeah, he's rich. They're all rich, right? Fucking Elizabeth Warren is fucking rich, okay?
Why do you think it's okay for Trump to tweet that 3 to 5 million illegal immigrants voted in the election?
I've never said that was okay, but I also do probably think that's probably very valid that there was probably out of the 11 illegal.
Where's the evidence for it?
I can't produce the evidence for it.
Then why can you make that claim?
I didn't make that claim.
Well, for Trump, I'm saying, like, Trump, why can Trump make that claim? Why do you think that it's valid for him to make that claim if he has no evidence for that?
I don't know. I can't speak to that. You're probably right that you shouldn't tweet out, like, specific numbers.
Why is he saying things like calling CNN fake news when he's got literally Mr. Breitbart as part of his administration?
Are you saying CNN hasn't been are you defending CNN right now?
In general, yeah, sure.
Dude, CNN is trash. And we knew that before Trump ever came around.
Do you think CNN is? How do you think?
Because they gave debate questions to fucking Hillary.
Yep, that was a problem. She got
Yeah.
fired for it. So that invalidates every single thing CNN has ever
And
done.
so
Then
many other things. Did you go to CNN to get your news?
sometimes, sure.
I'm glad when he had that press conference, he wouldn't take that question from CNN. I fucking love that. Take questions from everybody else. Because you know why he did that? Because they were the motherfuckers who picked up on that BuzzFeed article about that bullshit. fake
Except
news.
they didn't even publish the BuzzFeed article. I don't think Trump even knew what he was talking about.
This is the thing on Twitter. Like, you just put a headline and that's the truth.
Yeah, but CNN explicitly did not publish that dossier because they couldn't
So-
verify it.
Why
They
didn't
reported that it was passed around. I don't know. Ask McCain why he gave it to Comey.
Dude, yeah, because that dossier was passed around for what, months or years, and nobody ran with it because they're like, okay, this is clearly bullshit, and we're a
You know what
newspaper.
else was clearly bullshit? The Hillary email thing, and it almost sank her campaign.
What was bullshit about that? Did she not have a private server?
She did, but it doesn't seem like anything that was as serious as the Republicans made it seem like. But you better believe that dominated headlines for like 3/4 of the fucking election process, and it even came back a few days beforehand because of the parallel investigation on Anthony Weiner.
Sure, and they fucked up with that. That's on them, man. If Hillary Clinton was a fucking low-level government employee and did that, you know she'd be fired.
I don't know. Do you think Breitbart is like a legitimate place to get your news from?
I don't think it's a legitimate place to get your news from. It's hard to find a legitimate place to get your news from.
Why do you
Like-
say that?
Because, dude, do you think Washington Post is a legitimate place to get your news from now?
I think you can. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think you can take like bits here and bits there and bits here, and that's what I do. I go to CNN. See, I hate read things, or not hate read, but I read things on the left that I don't agree with, just to get a better, broader knowledge. And I don't think people on the left do that with sites like Breitbart. I think they go, "Oh, this is from
That's
Breitbart."
because Breitbart is a garbage site that doesn't have any legitimate reporting on it. Breitbart is just shit blog spam, similar to another site called The Federalist that Trump actually tweeted out today.
And so is Salon and Slate.
No.
Yo, come on, dude. Slate.
I don't know as much about Salon, but I'm pretty sure Slate does actual articles with actual research. You said you have a master's in geology. Breitbart literally posts articles proving, quote unquote, that climate change is fake and a hoax made up by the liberal agenda.
I'm not defending everything Breitbart puts, but to say that like Breitbart's like the only examples of shitty news sites that are popular are on the right is
No,
ridiculous.
it's not. No, that's not true. I think that like it hurts to say it because every day I'm starting to lean more my way. But like I think that like Fox News, you can get at least factual news from there. But a thing like Breitbart is literally on the tier of like Facebook spam shit. That like it's just
Right. Breitbart is like opinion. If you want to go and hear the same shit that you already believe in, you'll go to Breitbart. But it's the same with fucking Jezebel and Slate. I mean, it's just the right side version of that.
I'm not sure. I'm really uncomfortable with the whole discussion on fake news because it sounds to me like you think that every single thing put out by CNN is just fake.
No, I just don't think they have any credibility.
Compared to who? Who has credibility to you?
In terms of general news, I don't know if I can name maybe. I still kind of respect New York Times, even though Trump shit on them. Well, Wall Street Journal, Christian Science Monitor, I try to go to for nonpartisan news. And
Wait,
then
what was the last one you said? Sorry.
Christian Science Monitor.
Okay.
But it's just it's hard. I don't think CNN. Like I'll read stuff on CNN, but I don't take their word for it. Because I go to CNN, something happens, and I go to CNN. I know what their angle is gonna be on it.
Gotcha. Well, like, okay. I guess, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. This went for a while, but
Gotcha. Well, hey,
I just want to say that I support him. I'm not going to defend every fucking thing the guy does, but but I think that this Chicken Little thing and that this country's going to fall. We have a lot of people share a lot of the same goals, and we're constantly being divided. And if we stopped for a minute with all this shit, we would see that some of the stuff we want is the same. But this thing that Trump's going to ruin the country and putting a picture, like the New Yorker put a picture of the Statue of Liberty with its flame tucked out. It's like, oh no, America's going to fall. It's like, that doesn't do anybody any fucking favor.
Well, maybe not fall, but maybe step away from what we thought were traditional American values.
I honestly think Trump wants American citizens to have better lives, no matter who you are.
Do you think the 20% tariff on Mexico is going to help with that?
I don't know. I do think that our trade deals, from little of I know, I'm not going to speak on this, but I mean, it's kind of evident we've been getting screwed over the last 20 or 30 years on some
How is it
things.
evident?
Man, I grew up in a Rust Belt town, my friend, and steel didn't just like get all automated. And
All right,
it didn't just
and I grew up in
disappear.
San Francisco, and San Francisco is doing amazing. So therefore, your argument is wrong.
Because it's all fucking Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you
Where do
saying
you-
it's evident only based on where you live?
No, but look at like steel production, right? Where did steel production did it disappear? Is it like, do we not use steel anymore?
No, we probably outsourced it to overseas.
We outsource it overseas because somehow it's cheaper for somebody to make it all the way halfway around the world and ship it all the way over here than it is to make it down the block. And that has in part to do with the trade deals and how things are imported and exported in this country.
Okay, so do you want to make it so that steel is made in America and every single person that buys a product that's manufactured with steel has to pay more for it?
But here's the thing, to get on this really quick. Now, that's an argument of things are going to cost more. But you have to think long term. If I make my product here and you make it in Mexico, and Trump puts a tariff on Mexican imports, now your product is going to be more expensive than mine. So now the consumer is going to buy mine. And now people are going to buy things that are made in America because it's cheaper.
Sure.
Because-
So people are gonna, but it's more expensive than it was before the tariff.
But I mean, it's the same thing with like Henry Ford was paying his workers a livable wage. May have made the cars more expensive for the consumers, but overall, the community and the economy, because people are actually making.
Okay, we live in a very, very, very different time than Henry Ford, though, where we can capitalize on trade advantages around the world. I don't think that the world was quite as globalized as when Henry Ford was making cars.
No, it wasn't. But we can capitalize on global trade. Falls on deaf ears if you go to certain parts of the country.
So don't you think it would be better to spend more money getting those parts of the countries caught up rather than to punish every single American consumer by putting artificial tariffs on everything?
What is caught up? What do you mean, like caught up?
I don't
Like,
know. Get them, invest money into retraining them for different jobs that are more relevant to the American economy today.
Do you think it's sustainable for a country to have to outsource all of its manufacturing?
I'm not sure.
Like if we had to go into like war, you think it'd be sustainable for all of our steel to be fucking made in China and India?
I don't know. Is that our goal, though, is to gear up for war? I'm not actually sure. That is an interesting question, but that's
Is
not
it?
the argument that Trump is putting forth, that we need to be ready to produce tanks to go into war. The argument is that we need to make our economy stronger, and putting a tariff on every single import seems like a bad way to do it.
Well, I mean, those industries didn't just disappear; they went somewhere else.
Yeah, they did. But what's wrong with that? Do you want the American economy to look the exact same
No,
way that
because-
it did 50 years ago? Is that your goal, is to keep the
I want-
economy looking
I
the
would like
same?
Middle class, the opportunities that the middle class allow people to look the same way it did 50 years ago. Yeah,
Okay, but we have jobs now in computer science and engineering and service-related fields that didn't exist prior to that.
sure.
Jobs are always going to come and go. I mean, I don't understand this fascination with keeping certain sectors of the economy alive like it's a museum or something.
Because you have to have opportunities for people who don't go to college to bring it all back to where we started.
Sure, so again, why not spend money on retraining these people towards a different job? I don't know, it just seems weird to punish every single American. Like, well, I used to buy, I wanted to get a $20,000 car, and now it's 24 grand because of import tax. Like, that kind of sucks, but I guess at least some dude in West Virginia has a job now.
Yeah, but you can't. You're talking about retraining and educating. That's like going to school.
Sure.
It used to be you could be 18, and this is why a lot of black people fled the South. Not obviously, of course, of the racism and Jim Crow, but they came north because they had an opportunity in the factories of Detroit and Cleveland and Gary and all these places. We have to be able to. You can't say, okay, there's no more jobs with a respectable family wage that doesn't require a college education, and at the same time be like, we're not going to pay for college education for you. You have to do it
Well,
yourself.
then maybe we invest more in education. Maybe that's where we get some of the trade-offs from outsourcing a lot of that labor. Like,
And that's part of the reason why I wrote in Bernie, my friend. But I think just to say like, oh yeah, like.
well, but wait, didn't we start this whole conversation off saying that if people wanted to retrain for things, they don't need to go to college because it's a waste of time anyway? Shouldn't these people all be able to figure out how to work other jobs on their own? Or are you saying that college is really important now for these guys?
Still available without a college education, but there hardly isn't. Dude, my parents' generation, you could go finish high school, work at a factory for 30 years and retire there and have a house and raise a respectable family. Like, you can't do that anymore. And it's not because like 30 years have gone and like this shit. It's because of people have made decisions in power that have led to that.
Sure, but I mean, our standards of living are a lot different today as well. Like a middle class family, 50 years ago didn't have high powered computers and cell phones like even lower class people do today. Like, I mean,
that's correct. I don't think everything should be like brought back here. I don't think we should make like, fucking everything that's made in China be brought back here. But like sustainable industries that are important to a nation's economy, I think are important to have. We've just like abandoned manufacturing here.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We've covered a lot of things, but.
All right, well, hey, man, I appreciate the conversation, buddy.
See you, bro.
Have fun. Have a good one. Good luck. What do you do for work? I'm just curious.
Do you know, I work in the public safety in the government.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Are you like civil engineering or anything, or?
No, I don't. It's not like I'm not like making any decisions for the government. I do like geospatial stuff, spatial analysis and everything.
Holy shit! Like city planning stuff, or?
No, not quite. It's like just public safety, like emergency planning.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, hey, man. I hope nobody gets fired because there's that big public freeze on everything.
Yeah.
So, good luck, dude. I appreciate the conversation. A lot of people don't want to come on and talk, so I'll see you later, man.
Have a good one.
Geospatial emergency. I bet this is the guy that sets up the speeding cameras everywhere. I'm just kidding. Ah.